So first question, Sonia, introduce yourself and tell us what would make you a good candidate for Colne Valley.
Hi, I'm Sonia and I'm standing for the Greens. I think I'd make a good candidate for the Colne Valley because I like to stick up for people and be there when they need that little bit of extra help that they can't necessarily find themselves.
What do you feel are the big issues nationally that you're going to be able to tackle?
The NHS is one, mental health services particularly, then the education system's in a bit of a pickle. The environment obviously is a really important one, hence the Green Party status.
After the Green Party members in Ealing and Central Acton technically withdrew a candidate to help Labour beat the Conservatives, what are your feelings about, shall we say, progressive alliances with other parties?
I think that it was a really it was a nice idea that was really, if we could have all worked together on, would have worked really well. The guys that stood down, that was their choice. From a personal opinion, I always feel like there should be a choice and everyone should have access to a number of parties to choose from. And particularly in the Colne Valley, we had said that if there could be some reciprocation from Labour that we would not stand a candidate, particularly the Isle of Wight where the Greens are second behind the Tories, and if they could come behind the Greens there, we were prepared to stand down in many other places. But unfortunately they couldn't do it, and with my sort of personal leanings towards having a wider democracy, it just seemed like the right thing to do, really, to stand.
Let's go local now. What do you think are the big issues locally?
HRI, big glaringly obvious one there. The threat of losing the hospital and the A&E department. Schools, oversubscription of schools. This little village here has 3 schools, they're all full. People on this street are getting sent down to Linthwaite with their little ones. Housing, we're building more houses, but we haven't got the schools, which is an interesting concept. And again, the big issue, as far as I'm concerned, is children's mental health services. There's kids that are waiting 3-4 years for any sort of input from autism services. There's the waiting lists are just beyond the pale. There's children that are, they're getting ranked on the tiers of, if you've got 3rd level mental health issues, you're still waiting 8 weeks. The children that aren't ranked tier 3, they're waiting months and months and months. People are having to go private. It's not a pretty picture, really.
On that topic, what's your vision for the future of the NHS then?
I think the NHS should be free at the point of access for everybody. Obviously, it's also a Green Party policy that I feel like we should be funding more at the bottom. We should be appreciating our nurses more. There should be funded training. There should be, lots of stuff pumped in at the bottom that can then filter up and make it so that, they're not overworked, underpaid, doing a really hard job for little recognition, and that should filter down then to making things better for everybody.
Putting it bluntly, considering the Green Party's lack of experience in power and the Liberal Democrats' experience of being the less powerful part of a coalition, why should people see your party as anything other than just a protest group?
Well, you can say just a protest group, but once upon a time Labour was nothing, and look at them now. It wasn't that long ago that they just suddenly appeared on the stage, maybe as a protest, and they became mainstream. It's by those small votes that we grow, and then eventually at some point, we can step onto the bigger stage and make a real difference.
Child poverty, we all know it exists, and around here it does as well. What's the best way out of it?
Child poverty, it's not just one way out of these things. They're all connected. Everything is connected. We need to look at no fuel poverty. Tesla's just released these solar tiles. Why are we not filling every roof of every house with solar tiles so that people can have free clean electricity. You know, that's number one. There's, you know, parents aren't being, you know, you've got parents who are trying to look after their children, elderly relatives, caring for people on very little income, maybe even just job seekers, you know, and there's no recognition for that level of care that people are putting in. It makes things difficult. You know, if we can put more recognition into the jobs that parents do for their children, and the you know, and for the elderly and all the rest of it around them, give them enough to be able to, you know, live off, then that's going to start bringing people out of poverty at the bottom, and then, you know, a decent education system will keep them out of it as they grow older. And
what do you feel is the best way of improving the transition from education to employment for the children that you've just been talking about?
it's about having options, I think. You know, not everyone's the same, not everyone learns the same. There's this sort of expectation that it's hard really because everything's such a bit of a mess at the moment with the, I mean, it's one of my, I could get on my soapbox about the education system for a very long time, but you know, we've messed up these GCSEs. They've got kids that are now being told they have to go on to further education, but there's no courses for them. So people are going parallel, they're going across sideways into level 2 subjects that are just, you know, there should be more available apprenticeships. We shouldn't be paying for like university and things like that, not at the point of access anyway. And, you know, there's maybe a decent pay for apprentices would go a long way, because you know, these kids are working full time and getting 90 quid a week, which...
Let's move on to the other end of the spectrum. What are your feelings about pension age, elderly welfare and end of life care, for instance? We kind of know what the Tories think, but what do the Green Party think?
Well, at the end of, you know, your life, you've put quite a lot in. You know, it doesn't matter who you are, you will have done something in your life that is worth, you know, has merit, and that should be recognised with, you know, dignity for people and not a fear of being cold or hungry or lonely. We should be able to provide for everybody. We have enough, and that includes the elderly, especially the end of life care stuff. I mean, it's the carers themselves are in between a rock and a hard place, because the way that a lot of them are employed means they don't have the time to properly care for the people that they work for, despite really wanting to, and you know, that needs to change.
Move on to public facilities and public services, libraries, sports facilities, even public transport. What are your views on it all being taken back under council or government control? Yeah,
I think maybe funding rather than control. I think it's nice that like our library is now a community library. We nearly lost it. It got moved into the community hub, and because the community were part of that, it feels like it belongs to the community. However, it still needs funding. So I think that there's like a combination that can be had there between being owned by, you know, the local council, but also of the community feeling like it's theirs as well. Public transport definitely is something that should be free and available for everybody. It needs to be clean, efficient, affordable. Well, if it was free, it would be affordable, because you know, there's young people that can't drive, there's people who can't afford to drive, and then obviously there's the environment to think about, and I think that's really important.
Thank you very much indeed for putting your views, but one thing before we go, why should people vote for you?
People should vote for me if they want to vote for me, is what how I feel. I mean, I will represent people, you know, to the best of my ability. I will listen to what they want carrying forward, and I will take that message forward for them. However, it's quite difficult at the moment with the comparisons between the new Labour manifesto and the Green Party policies. There are a lot of differences. There's some things were very different on, personal opinion. There, things don't go quite as far as I would like them to. But if I know that a number of traditionally Green voters are this time voting for Labour, and I really respect their choice in that. I also know there's a number of people that weren't going to vote if they didn't have a Green Party member or someone else to vote for. So I wouldn't necessarily say you should vote for me. I would say go out onto Votes for Policies, go out and have a look at I Side With, the Political Compass, see what everybody's offering, make up your own mind and then go with that.